This is Hello Chambers, where policy meets scrutiny and decisions face the spotlight. Tonight, no easy money, no printing press, just tough choices. As budget defense sessions continue at the National Assembly with their usual mix of drama, intrigue, and revelations, Nigeria's 2025 fiscal plan is under intense spotlight. I am Tijesu Adeoye. Welcome to the conversation. Can Nigeria spend its way out of a budget gap without printing money? That question took center stage at the Senate. It was a moment of fiscal truth. The federal government says printing more Naira to fund the 2025 budget is off the table. Finance Minister Wale Edun, facing tough questions from lawmakers, made it clear the era of ways and means is over.
Let me start at the beginning, which is the reform of, in particular, the unchecked ways and means proliferation, the printing of money without any control or any limit, contrary to what the distinguished senator said, that ways and means are to be used, but within the legal limits.
But senators weren't holding back. They raised concerns about delayed capital releases, unpaid contractors, and a growing reliance on borrowing. For the budget minister, Atiku Bagudu, the issue runs deeper. Nigeria's economy, he says, is still too small for its ambitions, especially when compared to countries like Brazil and Indonesia.
This is the issue that we should be dealing with. What are the fundamentals? What is the big problem here? And Mr. President had attempted to communicate it very well since he took over. We are not where we want to be compared to countries with whom we are competing. Of the countries with whose population is closest to ours, Brazil, Pakistan, Indonesia, we are small in every way. Budget size, GDP, and even interestingly debt. So these things are connected.
And for the Senate's Finance Committee, this is about accountability. Chairman Sani Musa says the National Assembly will keep the pressure on, ensuring every kobo borrowed delivers results.
The committee is deeply concerned about persistent weaknesses in budget performance. We continue to observe delayed fund releases, under execution of capital projects, weak revenue remittances, and poor alignment between appropriations and implementation.
Nigeria's dream of building its own cars may depend on one thing: allure. Behind the scenes of Nigeria's industrial ambitions, a quiet push is gaining momentum. The Automotive Design and Development Council is calling on lawmakers to pass a long-awaited bill, one that could reshape the future of local vehicle production. At a training for parliamentary reporters, the message was clear: no law, no growth. The council says the automotive sector is capital-heavy, policy-sensitive, and in urgent need of legal backing to attract investors.
2020, 100% in support, they own their own narrative. If that is done in Nigeria, if the tariff is increased by 5% in order to protect our own, what will the narrative be? What will we wake up and see the following day in the press?
For the House of Representatives, it's bigger than cars. It's about jobs, technology, and reducing Nigeria's dependence on imports.
The House of Representatives places a premium on capacity development for its press corps and parliamentary supporting teams. Now, this is not incidental. It is deliberate. We recognize that legislative work does not end with lawmaking or oversight. It is complemented when policies, reforms, and sectoral interventions are clearly understood by citizens.
Who gets power and who stays in the dark? That's the question lawmakers are now asking. At the heart of Nigeria's power debate, a troubling allegation. Lawmakers say electricity distribution may not be equal. Another committee of the House of Representatives is probing claims that Abuja gets the lion's share of power, leaving neighboring states like Kogi, Niger, and Naira with far less. During an oversight visit to AEDC headquarters, lawmakers described the alleged imbalance as unfair and economically damaging.
I understand you extend up to part of Niger State and Kogi. If 80% of your concentration is to be in Abuja, do you think it will be proper for me as a representative of all Nigerians to admit that and be comfortable with it?
They also flagged estimated billing and slow meter rollout as persistent problems.
That the end users or the consumers are satisfied with your service so far. I can answer you with capital letter that no. Despite you covered about 80% in Abuja, I represent Lokoja, which is state capital.
But AEDC pushed back. The company denies deliberate bias, pointing instead to realities on ground: energy theft, weak infrastructure, and poor revenue recovery.
A number of people may complain that we are not spreading our resources across everywhere. I have a very wide coverage area. But the idea for us is identify your 80-20 rule. So which are your 20% customers giving you 80% revenue? Secure that revenue with the small resources you have, make the investments, curb the losses, improve reliability, improve availability.
Take a short break with us, because when we return, the conversation gets even more interesting. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for staying with the Hallowed Chambers. Now, my guest today is a Senator Shaibu Afolabi, and he is a chairman, Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security, and he is a senator from Ogun State. It's good to have you on our program.
TJ, it's nice to be here again.
Well, let's begin with the very recent development, which is the death of one of your colleagues, Senator Mpigi Barinada. The Senate has had a couple of, lost a couple of colleagues in this 10th Assembly. How did lawmakers receive this? Because we know that he was sick for a while. I'm sure it was a huge blow to the Senate. How is the Senate taking it at the moment? And what do you have to say about the senator?
It's certainly the death of distinguished Senator Barinada Mpigi was a big blow to us in the 10th Senate, particularly coming shortly after the passing of yet another colleague from Nassau State. So far, the 10th Senate, unfortunately, we have recorded the loss of 4 distinguished senators. Senator Mpigi in particular was very close home to me. He was a member of the Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security. He had been ill for some time, in and out of the hospital. However, in the last few months, we thought by some miracle he will get back fully recovered. Indeed, in December, I think in December or January, he had the wedding ceremony of his daughter. So, and I was coming, to the Senate, and we thought, the worst is over. So, my condolences to his immediate family, to his constituents, and of course to the leadership of the Senate, and indeed all distinguished colleagues. This is one death too many. And we're praying that in this 10th Senate and in the National Assembly as a whole, we will not record yet another loss of any colleague of ours. So certainly we are shaken, we're suddenly devastated.
Very quickly, before we move on, how would you describe the man, Senator Mpigi? What influences do you think he has made while in the chamber with you, among his constituents? What kind of a man would you describe him as?
Senator Mpigi was a very boisterous man. Someone who came with the agility, with the vibrance, and he was a bridge builder. Someone who initially was in PDP, We didn't share the same political affiliation, but just like we normally refer to ourselves with the nationals, we are senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He carries no party, carried no party affiliation. He was a nationalist. He approached all the issue and debate and conversation in the chambers with the patriotism you will expect for someone who had served his state before coming to National Assembly. And that's why, Senator Pig was not anonymous. Even despite the fact that he was ill for some time, everybody knew who Senator Piggy was, because he was a man that was very vibrant. He was a man that was before the onset of his ailment, we could say was the life of the party anywhere he was. And he was a member of my committee, the Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security. Very, very enthusiastic to learn about the new technology, very, very committed to legislation that will provide a safe and secure environment for our digital economy to grow. And right from the time we were elected, even before our inauguration, our relationship started because we needed to follow the then Senate President candidate, Distinguished Senator Akpabio, now our Senate President, to a number of states to canvass support for him. Rivers State was one of the states that we went, and I could see Senator Piggy, working with other senators, working with the leadership of the state to pledge support and work for the emergence of the Senate President. So he left his mark. He stand together in the 10th Senate that have been short, but we're going to have fond memories of him. We're going to have a memory of a man who came and left an indelible mark, not just in the Senate, but in the heart of his colleagues.
The National Assembly just recently passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. That was what kept lawmakers busy all through the break. Now, what would you say are the highlights of that bill? Because, the electronic transmission actually dominated discussions and there was a lot of attention there. But there are other clauses, that Nigerians deserve to know about. So what are those clauses?
Let me first start with the electronic transmission. Again, I want to emphasize that clause that is at center of unnecessary contention, if you ask me, mandate the presiding officers to transmit the form EC80 electrically immediately the form is completed. So there's nothing about that. The only thing people are saying is that, why do we not leave a proviso that in case there's a network failure and it cannot transmit, the form EC80 becomes a backup? Is it not natural that if you have a system of transmission, if that system fails, you must default back to the original document? And the original document, the source document here, is from EC88. So let us even explain that. But beyond that, there are also other provisions in terms of the nomination of candidates. For instance, the new Electoral Act emphasizes both consensus and direct primaries. Consensus where those who are aspiring for a position say, okay, yes, we all agree, let somebody go. It even builds the spirit of sportsmanship, spirit of fraternity, spirit of solidarity in one breath. And the party leaders, okay, if 3 or 4 of you were contesting and you have met together and you have decided to say, let this particular person fly the flag, there could be consideration for that. Maybe there's a local peculiarities in terms of rotation. Maybe there's a peculiarity in terms of, we think this person is more deserving. Then there's also another part of it, which is also the direct primaries. So say, let's give members of the party more say in who flies the flag of the party. Therefore, this new Electoral Act also mandates that as part of the requirement for the nomination of political parties. We have also reduced the time for nomination, between the time of nomination and the elections, to also minimize the expenditures that go with elections, and to also minimize the number of days that the notice of election before the actual election. And that is also what's also going to give the INEC the opportunity to take elections away from the period of Ramadan next year has been complained by by the Muslim committee. This Electoral Act also gives them that flexibility. Beyond that as well, it's also the fact that, remember, in 2022, members of National Assembly, sitting members of National Assembly, were disenfranchised from even voting for themselves as delegates. That has also been corrected. And we have also put in place a situation where you also minimize the number of political appointees that will be participating in. These are some of the things that we have done. But when you look at it, you ask yourself, what are the key elements to make an election process to be credible? Number one is the register. Okay, the national identity is made compulsory as part of the registration process to ensure that our electoral, the voters register is not only electronic, it is credible in the sense that we know that we are Nigerians and they are of voting age as prescribed by the Constitution. You also look at the fact that the BVAS has also been enhanced. Some new technology has also been enhanced. And the Electoral Act also wants to give the electoral empire the flexibility to deploy more technology. Because if you make a law that is technology specific, it doesn't mean that every time they want to deploy a new technology, they have to come back to you. This time last year, we were talking about artificial intelligence, but the artificial intelligence we're talking about here now is different from what we had last year. By this time next year, some new technologies will also come up. So the National Assembly in its wisdom says, instead of putting a particular technology in the Electoral Act that will mandate the electoral empire to come back now and then, if they see a technology, give them more latitude to deploy more and more technology, and then to also provide for accountability. And then we have also mainstreamed our identity system into the electoral, into the election register, such that in the past, when people talk about, we have less number of voters now, because in the past, people just build up their electoral registers in their locality, hoping that, the more voters they have on the electoral register, the more attention they will get, the more leverage they will command. Whereas those voters do not exist. But now, with more infusion, more linkage between the National Identity Management System, and I've spoken here over and over again about the National Identity Management Commission that we have now is improving by the day. And that's why even our own political party, the All Progressive Congress, just concluded its membership registration process. In the past, people just sit down somewhere with a manual register and say, okay, yes, member of the party, let's this unit. But now, the registration process, even for our own political party, is linked to need. When we continue to do all of those, when we know the identity of the voters, when we put and when we enhance the BVAS to ensure that only those who are registered in that polling unit can vote in that polling unit, and that the number of voters cannot exceed the number that have been registered in that place. So a number of these have been captured in the electoral, but again, because of the issue of electronic transmission, no, this National Assembly and this law has not taken away mandatory electronic transmission. No. Go and read it. You say, the presiding officer shall transmit from EC8 after having been completed. The only thing people are complaining about is to say, in case the network is not available, the form EC8, which by the way is the original document, which by the way, if you go to court, that's what we are going to use to plead, by the way, should serve as backup. I think that's the unnecessary controversy around that. All right, we'll take a quick break now. We'll still have more to discuss, but that'll be after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll still have more for you on the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every week, I take you inside the inner workings of the assembly, where laws are shaped, decisions are made, and the future of the nation is decided.
The eyes have it.
Join me, Tijesu Adeoye, and other seasoned experts, analysts, and lawmakers at the National Assembly as they uncover the real stories behind the headlines and offer unfiltered insight on the most pressing issues of the day. This is your front row seat to the heart of power. Watch the Hallowed Chambers every Saturday at 9 p.m. only
on TVC News.
We're glad to have you back. Still with us is Senator Shaibu Afolabi. Now, the Senate is, the National Assembly is done with the Electoral Act amendment there. And what we see now is budget defense session ongoing. We see a lot of heated sessions. But this time around, it's not between senators and heads of agencies like we usually see. It's between senators. Is there no internal agreement? Because we see a lot of senators going against themselves in heated exchanges. What's going on?
I think there'll be one or two instances that you could easily cite to justify it. I mean, two things I would say. Number one, senators are elected to represent their constituency. And therefore, when you are here, you also want to fight for your constituency in terms of projects, in terms of government programs. So it's not unusual to have senators or members of National Assembly generally. So this is a budget session. What can I get back to my people at home? They argue about that. And it's not unusual. It's not even gotten to a stage where you have in the U.S. Congress where they shut down the government on account of not agreeing on between the Democrats and the Republicans, or not agreeing on the spending priorities. So that is not an unusual thing. And then sometimes you also have situations where Senate has its own rules, and I'm also emphasize that again. When a committee of the Senate is sitting, it is the chairman of the committee of the Senate, by our rule, is acting in proxy for the Senate president. It is the Senate session that is in progress. Therefore, the same rules that will be applicable in the Senate plenary, those rules are also applicable in our committee meetings. And the chairman of the committee, for that purpose, is acting as president of the Senate. So I would just say, a couple of times some frayed nerves and there, but if we adhere to our rules, there'll be less contention here and there. But if the contention is about, I want to get more from this agency for my constituency, maybe not an unusual in a democracy where the senators or members of National Assembly have been elected to get the very best for their respective communities.
Well, Nigerians will be made to understand that, this budget defense session is for these agencies to defend their previous budget, how it was spent, and an opportunity for the lawmakers to oversight over, these agencies. Now, when we see these senators in feisty relationships, a lot of Nigerians are made to believe that there might be some undercurrents that you're not talking about.
TJ, and as I mentioned, maybe one or two instances. The committees of the Senate, are more than 20. And sometimes the committees have sessions in a day that are more than 2, 3, 4. So if you look at it, when you have more than 120 sessions of committees having engagements, and we have thousands of agencies, the incident you are referring to, maybe one or two occasions, it's not something that's significant compared to the number of the sessions we have. Yes, unfortunately, as maybe one of those incidents may be involving maybe one or two particular people, but generally, as I'm here speaking with you, even on the day that committees are sitting down. Okay, so if we take the committee on public accounts as an example, public account committee will sit down with virtually all the agencies of federal government. If you take federal character committee as an example, we sit down to be sure that all our agencies comply with federal character in terms of the spread of their employment. My committee is on ICT and cyber security, so the number of agencies who are not just the agency who are in the ICT sector space, any agency that deploy technology, we can invite them to say, last year you said you were going to do ABC for your automation, how far you have gone with it? So there are many of such. So in the course of that, sometimes people will canvass very strong views. It's not unusual in a democratic space, even when you have your, and I enjoy listening to watch your programs on TVC. Even when I watch the journalist hangout, people can have different positions. But these are friends before they get into the studio. And when they finish their conversation, they also become friends. It's not any different from the Senate.
All right. Well, let's talk about this budget defense. I believe you've met with the agency you're supervising, and you know, the Electoral Act amendment process actually brought a lot of issues in the cyberspace to limelight, which is our communication structure.
Yeah.
There's a gap. Now, what is your committee doing to bridge that gap in terms of, you know, budgetary provisions, also engaging?
Let me announce to Nigerians, and we must thank the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCF, the president of our country. He's a technology-savvy president. Let me tell you a few projects that are ongoing. We have what we call Project Bridge, that is going to provide 90,000 kilometers of fiber across our country, including those areas that the commercial service providers may not go. Meaning that by the time this project is done, 90,000 kilometers of fiber is the single largest project of its nature in developing countries. 90,000. Secondly, there are also going to be 7,000 rural telephony, meaning that those areas that don't currently have telephone or they are not profitable for commercial telephone operators to go, government is going to deploy 7,000 rural areas. As we speak, there's a project 774 to connect all the headquarters of 774 local governments in our country to the internet. And what that means is that when you connect the headquarters of a local government, at the headquarters of a local government, you have the local government itself. Not far from that, you have the INEC. Not far from that, you have the security agencies, the police divisions. Meaning that if you are able to connect all of those, you are deepening the rural connectivity. You are bringing this all down to our. These are the ongoing projects to bridge the gap. And then you also have the USPF, Universal Service Provision Fund, that also ensures that we provide some incentives for small players to go into rural areas that may not really be very profitable, but to support them in order to bring connectivity. All of these are taking place under this current administration. And then as a legislator, what have we done again? What we have done is that we have a National Digital Economy and E-Government Bill that will mandate government agencies to digitize their operations. When they digitize their operations, it minimizes corruption, it reduces the cost of governance, it provides for interoperability among government agencies.
And that's how far we go on the Hallowed Chambers tonight, where the questions are tough and answers must count. For more updates and breaking stories, follow TVC News across all our social media platforms. You can also join the conversation with me, Tijesu Adeoye. Let's keep the dialogue going beyond the screen. I am Tijesu Adeoye. Thank you for watching and see you next time.